now.
Awesome. Welcome, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in. I am Dan Horgan, and I'm joined with
Susan Ragsdale.
Thanks so much for being here. We're super excited to dig right in, and Susan is going to get us started right now.
All right. So in honor of quotes and our love of quotes, you cannot teach a man anything. You can only help him discover it in himself. That was an appropriate quote to kick off this first activity, which is called I Do Too. Very simple. I'm going to call out, Dan and I both actually are going to call out some statements. And if you agree with it, you're just going to go, I do too. Point to yourself and say the words, I do too. So here is our practice round. I like pizza.
I do too.
There you go. And it's that simple. So first real statement to get us on our leadership track. I care about people and what happens to them, even those I don't know personally.
I do too.
I do too. I want to make the world a better place.
I do too. I believe it is important to vote.
I do too. When I see someone being treated wrongly or unfairly, I believe it's important to take time to some kind of action.
I do too.
I have a cause I care about greatly.
I do too.
I do too. And I know young people can impact issues.
I do too. I see myself as a leader.
I do too.
So I'm going to pause us right there. That's one way to do this. If you were face-to-face, you could also have them jump up out of their seats if you needed to add some movement. But another way to do it virtually is, Dan.
Oh, and I love the movement because so often today we're in front of computer screens. But if you want to play to the virtual world, if you look at the reactions button in Zoom, there's an option where if you just click on that, you can give sort of like a high five symbol or a thumbs up. So you could encourage your participants in the virtual world, just like Ed posted and Susan. You could pick one of those two symbols to sort of represent your I do too statement as well. So that's just another way just to play off of the virtual space.
So let's see, next statement. I believe that what happens in another country or even another town affects me.
I do too.
Do the thumb symbols now.
We're mixing it up on you. All right, the next one is, I believe it's important to be actively involved in volunteering and serving others.
I do too.
I have ideas for what we can do to address some community problems.
I do too.
I do too. I like when people speak. Linda, I'm going to join you. I'm going to do both.
That's right.
I have ideas for what we can do to address some community problems.
I do too.
I speak up or out for people and issues I care about.
I do too.
I do too. I have participated or currently participate in march-ins or sit-ins or candlelight ceremonies.
I do too.
I have written or currently write to political officials or newspapers to express my opinions on pressing issues.
I do too.
Too. I have helped or currently help advocate for peers and others to get involved in community issues.
You too.
It's really hard to flip back and forth between my script and finding the reaction button at this moment. Let's see. I have skills and talents I can put to work to better my community.
I do too. I have been in charge of or want to start a project or initiative to address a community need.
I do too.
I do too. I eagerly want to be involved in making a difference.
I do too.
I do.
So you can see it's simple statements that kind of do an assessment of your group, where they are, what they're thinking, what their experience has been. You can use those as is. You can change them to be very specific to an issue. So let's say if you're doing something around the environment, you can narrow in on air, water, pollution, recycling, all of that, just to really get into the depths. And then you just simply talk about it afterwards. So for you guys, how did it feel to have other voices say, I do too, or to even see people doing the motion this way or doing the thumbs up motion on the screen? How did that feel?
So it got a little awkward at points, and like I could see with teenagers maybe it like inducing a sort of like group think, almost like in surveys where you think they're telling you what you want to hear, you know. So I would also really, I think, enjoy like kind of talking through it with people in terms of like, are there any exciting new things about this like you've been thinking about or learning, or that you like maybe a friend is doing and you want to try to like, just to kind of take it a little deeper, you know, because I felt myself getting in this mode of like, oh, we have to agree, even though the things were true. Maybe if we had broken that up, I would have enjoyed that, you know.
And so even with the debriefing questions, what you're saying, you start off with a, you know, simple talk about the activity. How did it feel? Did you feel pressure to say I do too? Did you not feel? How did it feel when other voices said I do too about something that is really important to me? How did it feel when no voices said I do too about an activity and it was important to me? You know, so you start peeling back the layers to get the conversation going, because you absolutely don't. And maybe this way it makes it a little bit trickier and a little more pressure to say I do too versus
so
face to
rapid fire.
face. Yeah. So what's one thing you're proud of from the statements that we read, things that we've done? What's one thing you're really proud of about yourself, or that stood out as we went through those different things? Can you think of one statement that stood out? And I would say this can be both, like the statement about I've participated in march-in sit-ins. That's, for example, for me, is very much an advocacy tool, but it's not something that I have had a lot of experience in. So as a participant, whether it's youth or adult, I might want to ask more from those who have done that. What's that like? You know, how's the reality versus what we see on the news? You know, what's the benefit? And, you know, it can get into those kind of conversations as well.
One of the things that struck me, I'm not sure I'm even answering your question, is as somebody who's retired now, I thought about the stages of life that people are in. You know, a teenager would have a different experience than somebody who's 35 and, you know, knows where the marches are and has the freedom to go do.
Oh, Linda, we lost you.
Well, we wait. Oh, there we are.
Where you are in life and your economic status would affect how much you're able to do those things that you care about. You know, if you have 3 kids.
Oh, we lost you again. Rats, I hate it when technology doesn't work for us.
Linda, if you want to finish your statement or thought in the chat box, that might be good. That might make sure we capture it. I just want to jump in and share, sort of building off of Jackie's point too, and to Susan, something you said. This is a great activity where you could also start at sort of low risk types of questions just to get the group moving, group engaged, create some commonality, some foundation building with the team, and then start to introduce some questions that may be differentiating the experiences or the perspectives of your team, and even pausing in between the statements at certain sections to dive into some of these deeper conversations. That way you can get out of the context, and the context drives awareness. It drives a sense of understanding for why somebody maybe selected the choice or didn't, you know, opt into the statement or not. So just another way of playing it out too.
Absolutely. And one of the debriefing questions is what other questions, so you can have them generate the list. So our group is specifically about this. What are some of the things we need to know about each other in this project we're going to do, or this cause we're addressing?
Yeah.
So technology aside, I'm going to have to call Linda personally to find out what she was saying, because I really want to know. But it's 10 minutes. And so that's the ID2, figuring out assessment. What does your group care about, not care about, digging in, diving. So that's how that works. I appreciate you guys joining us. And I forget every time to say it, so I'll say it this time. Like, subscribe, and share with others. And you guys who are here with us get the benefit of, you can hang and ask more questions after I hit stop on the recording. But tell others so they can come in and learn new activities they can put to use in their work. So thank you guys.
Thanks, everyone.